Okay, good afternoon. I'm HM2 Lanson, HM2 TJ, and HM1 Aaron Nighthawk recording. So right here, I'm going to expect that everyone should actually know the basic, VAMTE and well, what are you looking for? Your inspection visual, okay? So you got your ecchymosis. I'm thinking, hopefully, that you guys can get that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this part to the more on the application part. So what do you do when you actually have the patient? You want to watch their gait. One thing before that is ask them the mechanism of injury. So that's very important. Why are you here? What happened? Okay? And then you follow on through and come into my room. So as the patient walks in, most likely, you have to notice the gait. Okay? You have antalgic gait. You have circumduction gait. If they didn't talk about that, that's fine. But just if the patient starts to do this number, that's antalgic. Okay? You should know that too. Okay. So notice the gait, okay? Make sure that it's actually symmetrical, or make sure that it's not actually leaning to one side, okay? As the patient sits down, you have to notice also as the patient takes off, let's say if he was wearing his pants, how he takes off the pant, if he's favoring one side too as well, okay? All right, now we go for the inspection part, okay? So go ahead and stand up right here, sir. Okay, all right, we'll face this one so we can see. Now we'll just raise this up just for inspection purposes. Okay, now, the best thing to do right here to inspect this is your iliac crest, okay? So the first thing that your hand would land on, as you come down here, is your iliac crest, okay? And then from here, start to use your thumbs, come to the apex, and then slowly come in. The first bump that you feel anteriorly, right here, is going to be your ASIS, or your anterior superior iliac spine, okay? So and then that from there on, that's one of the major landmarks that we have. Then next, you're going to come down right here to the side, and you want to touch the greater tuberosity. Okay, it's the most prominent section of your thigh at the lateral part. The best way to do it, if the patient's a little bit thicker, you have the patient go ahead and hold right in the back, sir. Hold the back of the chair. Oh, out there. Okay, and then have the patient lean on one side and then rotate in and out. There we go. Once you start to feel that bone rub against your hand, that's your greater trochanter. Okay, good. And then from here, you also have your PSIS also at the back, but they didn't talk about that, so don't worry about it too much. Okay. So next is, what else do we have here? Okay. So greater trochanter, iliac crest. Okay. And then ischial tuberosity is your sit bone, so it's the bone that you use mainly when you sit down. So this is done best also with the patient. Go ahead and take a seat right here, sir. Okay. Now go ahead and lay down. There we go. So ischial tuberosity is best done when you have the patient bend at 90, bend your knee at 90, and then ask permission from the patient. Touch this section. The most prominent section right here would be your ischial tuberosity. Again, to make sure that you're feeling it, just make sure that you move it back and forth. That bony prominence is your ischial tuberosity. Okay, go ahead. Come back and take a seat. Okay. And that's all the four major aspects. So let's go over again. You got your ASIS, anterior superior iliac spine. You got your iliac crest, your greater trochanter, and then your ischial tuberosity, your sit bone. Good. Next is going to be basically your muscles again, if you want to know if it's part of it. I don't see it's not part of the exam, but that's okay. You get your quads, you get your hamstrings, okay? And let's mainly focus on this section right here. You get your iliopsoas inside right here, okay? That's the one responsible for your hip flexors too as well, okay? Now, since it's not here, that's a nice bonus that you could throw in afterwards. Range of motion, this is fairly easy. You could do everything sitting down, okay? Hip flexion is the first one, so flexion, going back to your anatomical position, anything you throw forward, so you're throwing your hip forward too as well, so that's hip flexion. Go ahead and raise again, ask the patient to see if he could do it himself or herself, your hip, raise up, good. Check the other one too as well. Okay, so that's hip flexion. So, and then abduction, adduction, so go ahead and take it out to the side, and then adduct. Perfect, good. Now, here's the cheesy part, external and internal rotation. Again, when you do this, a nice trick here is not to add this in the equation. So focus only on the thighs. So if I ask the patient, I'd like you to roll your thighs inward, so go ahead and roll it inward. That's internal rotation. Okay, not considering this. Now, you want to bring the femur outward, so go ahead and do it, and that's your external rotation. So that takes care of that problem too as well. Lastly is going to be extension. So as you take it back up, no, relax. So take it up. So from flexion, come back down is extension. Or you could also let the patient stand up. And then go ahead and face Mr. Aaron. Okay. So extend or sideways. Sideways. Okay. So then extension is trying to kick back. And then relax. That's it. Okay. Take a seat. So that's for your range of motion. Next is your muscle testing. So whatever you've done, you have to oppose. So again, hip flexion. So go ahead and bring up your thigh. Good. Fight it. Go ahead. Keep it up. Good. Grab the under calf. Okay. And then extend or flatten out. Good. That's extension. You got your abduction or adduction. ADD. Go ahead and compress. Good. And then you have your abduction. So you're taking it out. Good. Now your external and internal rotation, go ahead and support the knee. So what you want to do now, again, now you have to add this to the equation because you can't use this as leverage. Next, you want to do what you call a internal rotation. So go ahead and bring your hip inward. So while doing this, this knee starts to go out, or okay, this leg starts to go out. So what you want to do is you want to oppose that. So go ahead and bring your thigh inward, follow this movement. Okay, good. So what you want to do is you want to fight that. Good. And then next is your external rotation, so the thigh goes outward. Now you have to transfer everything here and do this. Okay, now take your knee or your thigh outward. Go ahead. And then sustain it. So the movements are going to be pretty much like a windshield wiper. That's it. Good. All right. Pause it for a while, please.